Today, we're going to sew up some bike shorts with a phone pocket. That's right. We are adding a phone pocket here to the side so that way you can keep your phone on you even when you're wearing your sporty outfit. And even if you're not gonna just wear these are great to wear under dresses and skirts for summer so your legs don't rub together. Or if you love riding your bike like I do, they are great for bike rides. This is a very beginner-friendly pattern and it comes in sizes extra small to 6X. We're going to be making them out of a 4-way stretch spandex. So you're gonna learn a lot today about working with those knit fabrics yet again, and I'm going to be using the serger, and I'm going to be going over methods using your regular sewing machine as well in case you don't have a serger. So you're definitely gonna wanna follow along to the end so you can catch all of those tips when working with knit stretchy fabrics. There's a link down below in the description for the pattern, or you can download it from sewinganastasia.com right now. So let's get to it. Let's make some bike shorts. If you're sewing along with me today, your first step is going to be printing your pattern. You can print the at-home version for your home printer, or you can print the large format version, or you can use it as a projector file as well if you have a pattern projector. Speaking of patterns, remember that sports bra pattern I put out with the sew along? Well, these bike shorts go great with the sports bra pattern. It makes such a cute little set. So I'm going to be using this wasp spandex for my bike shorts today too. Your next step after the pattern's printed is cutting out your fabric. Make sure you follow those grain lines. It's so important with these stretchy fabrics. Now let's go over the pieces you should have cut out of fabric. You should have 1 pocket cut out, 2 waistbands, and then you're going to have 2 pant legs as well. And that's it. Those are all the pieces you need. Super simple. Now let's get sewing. So I'm going to be using a serger today, but you can also use a home sewing machine. Just make sure you have your knit stitch selected because you don't want to sew your knits with a straight stitch because they will pop apart. You'll be wearing them. It'll be great. You'll move and they'll pop apart. Oh, embarrassing. The first thing we're going to sew are our waistbands, and we're going to fold these right sides together and we're going to serge up this short side here. So we're going to do this to both of them. So I have my fabric back right to the needles, and I'm going to serge this waist together. I'm going to serge off at the edge and cut. And now I'm going to do the same thing to the other waist. Now that we have the waistbands sewn together, it's time to place them right sides together and sew together the top waist. Before you place these together, I want you to take a look at the shape, and you're going to notice one end is longer than the other end. So the top waist is going to be the shorter one. So you need to make sure that you're placing both of those short ends together. So my top waist is this one and this one here. So I need to take one and flip it so I can place them right sides together. And now I'm going to place this one inside. And when we do this, we want to make sure that we're lining up the seam here. So we want to match the seam. And a lot of times when I do this to make it extra flat, one little trick I have for lining up these serged bulky seams so that way they line up and serge together smoothly is taking the seam allowances and putting them opposite directions. A lot of times I'm always going to tell you to line them up and face them the same direction, but I find that doing this really helps line them up. Go ahead and clip that, and then we can continue working our way around the top waist and clipping these together. And these should both be the same size. So if you feel like one is bigger or smaller, you might have your waistband flipped the wrong way. These clips are great for holding your fabric together in the serger. You can use them with your regular sewing machine too, but if you are sewing on your regular sewing machine, I would use pins. So now that we have those edges clipped together, we're going to serge those edges together. So we're serging something in a circle. We want to make sure that we're putting our fabric in parallel with the foot. So that way we don't accidentally cut into our fabric. Then we're just going to work our way around the circle. When the clips get in your way, just remove them. And again, try and make sure you can keep that seam there lined up, making sure that the seam allowances are flipped different ways. You get back to where you started, overlap your stitches and serge off. Just like that, our waistband is all together. And I want to mention that you can sew elastic into the seam up here while you're serging it or sewing it on your sewing machine. It will help keep this seam more reinforced and structured. You don't have to. If you want a little bit more of a relaxed fit, I suggest not putting it in there. If you want a little bit more of like a sucked in, secure fit, definitely sew some elastic into this top seam up here around the waist. And if you need some help with that, make sure you check out my video for that. There'll be a link down below in the description. We do have one last step for the waistband, and that is adding an understitch. If you go take a look at your yoga shorts or your bike shorts right now, you're gonna notice that understitch on the inside of the waistband. This is going to give the waistband such a nice professional finish. So what we need to do is sew on the lining side. So since mine's the same fabric on the inside, I'm just gonna choose this one. And what we need to do is take our seam allowance and we're gonna push it towards the lining side. And then we're going to add that little edge stitch right here. Because we're sewing stretch fabric, I'm going to be using my knit stitch for my understitch. So this little seam allowance here is what I'm stitching down on the lining side. I have my stretch stitch set up and I'm going to be stitching on the lining side about 1/8 of an inch away from the seam. When you're doing this, keep your fabric nice and flat. And sometimes with the knit fabric, you want to keep a hand in the back and kind of gently pull it through. Just helps keep it nice and sturdy. I didn't like the way that knit stitch was working with the fabric. It was making it pucker, so I've changed to a broken zigzag and I've made the pressure on my foot less. I've made the pressure 2.5. And now this is sewing up great. And that's why it's important to always test your stitches on a scrap piece of fabric first, because these knit fabrics all work differently. You get back to where you started, back stitch and cut. That knit stitch didn't work for me, but look at how great this broken zigzag stitch worked. Everything is nice and flat and secure, and it stretches great. Now we're finished with the waistband for now, and we're going to move on to that phone pocket. Don't you hate it when you're wearing a pair of leggings and there's no phone pocket? Ugh, so annoying. So we're putting a phone pocket on. So this is a generic phone pocket pattern. You can adjust it to fit your phone size. So if I put my phone on here, you can see I've got space around it. I've got extra space at the top because we're gonna have a finished edge up here. And I've made this pattern so that way it fits my phone in here perfectly. So it's covered. I know you've probably seen the pockets that are smaller, so your phone pops out. That's totally up to you and what you like for your phone pocket. But I like mine to be fully enclosed inside of the pocket. So if you don't want your phone popping out of the pocket, you're gonna wanna leave about 1 inch all the way around your phone for a pattern piece. Our first step for the pocket is folding it 1 inch towards the inside, towards the wrong side of your fabric. And I'm going to be using an overlock stitch to sew this down flat. To me, it looks like a mock flat lock stitch, which you'll see on a lot of your sportswear. But unless you have a 5 or 6 thread serger, you're not gonna have that stitch. So I wanted to use something that all the sewing machines have now, which is the overlock stitch. I have my overlock stitch selected and it looks like this. I made my stitch length 8.5 and my foot pressure 4. If you don't have this stitch, you can definitely use a broken zigzag or a regular zigzag. I just like this one a lot. So I'm going to be putting this stitch right on the edge of my fabric, the raw edge of my fabric here. When you're starting with the knit fabrics, make sure they're back far enough so that way your machine doesn't want to eat them, and then just work your way all the way down the top edge. You're going to notice with this stitch that it pulls it back and forth, so just guide it along the edge. When you get to the edge, back stitch and cut. And then it should look like that on the outside. And you're gonna notice it still stretches really nice and it's super strong. Now that our pocket's all set, it's time to place it on our shorts. I'm going to be placing my pocket on the side of my thigh, and you can really place this anywhere you want. You can angle it. You've got some options here because there's not any seam that you have to sew it into. So it is a patch pocket here on the spandex. You just want to keep it away from the bottom 2 inches here because we are going to have a 1-inch hem here with a stitch line. So you just don't want it running into that. It could do some funky things and get too bulky. So I'm going to keep mine about 3 inches up from the bottom, and I'm just going to put it in the middle of the shorts here. And since I'm using the sewing machine for this next step, I'm just going to pin the pocket down to the pants so it doesn't want to move on me when I'm sewing it. I am going to be using the regular sewing machine, and I'm going to be using that overlock stitch around the edge again, like a faux flat lock stitch. And now that I have that pocket nice and flat and secured, it's time to sew it on. I have my overlock stitch set, the same as I had it before, and we're going to start at the top edge of the pocket, and I want to position my stitch so my fabric is in the middle of my foot, so the stitch is going on the right and the left side of it, binding it to the fabric of the pant leg. When you get to the corner, leave your needle in, lift up your foot, and turn. Come up to the very edge of that pocket top and back stitch. You just want to make sure that you're leaving the top edge of your pocket open so you can get your phone in there. Let's take a look at our pocket. It is very incognito with this wasp print. So you can see we've got this overlock stitch going around the edge. We left the pocket open on the top so we can get our phone in there. And I love how invisible this pocket is on the side. It's not a, oh my gosh, look at me. It's super incognito. And the thread matches so good too. Oh my gosh, I just love when you find a great matching thread. Now grab your other pant leg and we're gonna place it right on top of the other one, and we're going to sew up the seat, which means we're going to be serging up these curved edges here. So the deeper one's the back and the shallower one is the front. Serging together my front seam first. Now I'm going to serge together my back seam. Now we're finished with that step. Now that we have the seat sewn, it's time to sew the inseam. To do that, we're going to take the 2 layers that are on top of each other right now and flip them the opposite way, and look at that. All of a sudden, we've got legs just like that. Now what we want to do is clip together the seam at the very bottom here. Again, you can make those seams go the opposite way so they lay nice and flat. And then just clip all the way down. And now when we serge our seam, we're going to start at the bottom and work all the way over to the other side. And notice you've got these little corners here, these little angles on the side. Don't serge those off. Those are so when we're hemming later, we flip this up, our fabric is going to lay nice and smooth for our hem. Remember to keep that edge straight so you don't chop off that bottom angle. Look at this. These shorts are really coming together. Now it's time to attach the waistband. Then we're going to take the waistband and we're going to flip the right side to the right side of the shorts. And for lining things up, I want you to line up the seam in the waistband with the center back seam here on the shorts. And then we're going to clip that together. Now you're going to work your way all the way around the waist. You have 3 layers here, so you want to be really careful and make sure you get all 3 layers pinned together and or clipped together if you're using the serger. So I'm just going to work my way all the way around the waist here. Now the waistband is a little bit smaller than the shorts, so you just need to stretch it a little bit as you go. So stretch the waistband a little bit and then clip it, or you can use the quartering method, and I have a video all about that if you'd like to check that out. I'll put a link down below in the description. Now that we have everything clipped, it's time to serge all 3 layers together at the same time. Since we're serging in a circle, make sure you start with your fabric parallel with the foot so you don't cut any holes in your fabric, and then let's go. You get back to where you started, overlap your serge, and then serge off. Our shorts are looking great. All we have left to do is hem the bottom. To hem the bottom of the bike shorts, we're going to turn them inside out, and we're going to fold up the bottom 1 inch and pin it down. And then when we sew this down, we're going to be using that overlock stitch because it looks like that faux flat lock stitch. So it's going to be nice and smooth and flat and help keep that thick spandex in place. So now that I've got this pinned down, I'm going to go ahead and sew all the way around the hem. And I'm going to do the same thing to both legs. I'm going to start by the seam and make sure I'm placing my stitch right on the edge of the fabric like I did the pocket. I get back to where I started, I'm going to backstitch and cut. And now I'm going to do the same thing to the other leg opening. We did it. We finished our biker shorts. Time for a bike ride. Let's take a look at all the details that went into creating these shorts. I just finished that hem with the overlock stitch, which I just love. It keeps everything nice and flat and secure, and it still allows it to stretch really nice. We've got our strong seams that we created with our serger. We have our phone pocket on the side, which I just love. We got that phone pocket here, so cool. We got a nice thick waistband, which is going to make you feel nice and secure in your shorts. And we have that nice understitch on the waistband, making everything nice and professional looking. And now it's time to try it on with our matching bralette. Oh, so cute. And just like that, we've got some bike shorts with a phone pocket. So awesome, right? And these shorts were so easy to make. I could definitely see myself sewing these in so many different colors and fabrics and wearing them under dresses and skirts too. And you can see the matching set looks so cool. Or you can see right here, you can make them in different contrasting colors as well. Depending on the fabric you sew it up out of, it can look so different. You're gonna have so much fun sewing these pieces this summer. I hope you enjoyed learning all those little tips and tricks, working with the knits, the ins and outs, the things you need to try, because it could go all wrong, and we don't want that to happen. So make sure you follow those tips when you sew these up. And don't forget, you can download the pattern at sewinganastasia.com, and it comes in sizes extra small through 6X. Thanks so much for watching Sewing Anastasia today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for watching today. These videos are for you guys. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know when the new videos come out. And make sure you follow on social so that way we can stay connected and creative together, even outside of YouTube. Definitely follow the Instagram stories because I'm always posting behind the scenes actions of classes and shooting videos back there. And if you're in Chicago, come on into the design studio and take a sewing class with me in person. And if you're not in Chicago, well, hey, that's okay. We now have online classes. Check out the links down below in the description for all of that. Thanks so much for watching today. Bye.